Hello and welcome to the online class in EDIT 4170 that covers information about building effective web-based lessons, and I also want to talk a little bit about the Ethics Web Quest as well as the Educational Technology Master's Program. My name is Dawn Poole and I am the coordinator of the Educational Technology Program here at CSU Stanislaus. Welcome. I want to begin today by talking a little bit about effective uses of the internet in classes. First of all, with regard to the use of the web, I think it's apparent to everybody that you can just send students to a website. They either may or may not actually read the material that you send them to or process that information. So in developing this particular lesson, what we're really hoping is that you can think about ways to really engage students in the material. Research is embedded into all of the Common Core state standards, so it's not just an add-on, it's really an assumption that research skills are going to be a part of all of the curriculum. So it's not just based on English language arts, it's really part of the literacy skills that students are supposed to build throughout their K-12 careers. So one of the things with regard to the internet is that we can teach students how to use it effectively for research. This is not really the goal of this particular lesson, but is certainly something that you will work with students on if you are in a teaching role. So with regard to building those skills, there might be activities in which your purpose is to teach students how to search effectively for information, kind of like the information literacy activity that you completed earlier in the course. There are a lot of different ways that you can help them with searching and help them understand the different types of material that might be out there. But the focus of this particular lesson is not to build those skills, it's really to use existing web materials that you've identified as an instructor in a way that aligns with curricular objectives. So in other words, we're looking for you to send students to sites that you've already pre-screened. You know that the content is grade appropriate, reading level appropriate, and instead of just sending students to search engines where they may or may not encounter useful resources, you want them to go to specific sites to do something very specific and meaningful with them. So again, instead of having students search for their own content, which might be appropriate if you're trying to teach them how to search for information, in this case, we're going to use the internet a little bit more efficiently in a class type of situation by sending them to sites that you've already predetermined are to be good ones for them. In doing this, it can be designed in a way where you can differentiate instruction for students in your classes. For example, if there are students who read at different grade levels, you can prepare links that would be appropriate to those different levels so that the students wouldn't necessarily even know that they're going to different reading level based sites, but they're accessing content that would be appropriate for their levels. Also, students who are working at a higher level, they can access information with maybe a little bit more text on it, maybe fewer images. Another thing to think about is using sites that incorporate multiple media, since you've got the tools and resources now to be able to do that. Specifically, you have access to video, you have access to audio, you have access to images in addition to the text. So if you're using more static materials that are only text-based, then students such as English learners and others who might be supported better through the use of other media can be channeled to resources that better meet their needs. And certainly you want to think about what you do with the resources you send students to so that they are doing something that engages them in learning and promotes their critical thinking. We are going to use a free resource called Sophia. It is designed for teachers to be able to set up classes in the resource where you can link to web-based materials, as well as you can incorporate your own PDF documents and other resources. And it also has a quiz feature embedded in the resource itself that will allow students to log into your site, and they have to correctly answer 3 of at least 4 questions that you pose to them in order to be considered to have completed the lesson. So there's a little bit of an accountability element to it. And what's nice about that is if you are thinking about flipping a class, which means that instead of you doing the lecture-based material in the class with the students, that's what you assign as homework, and then during the class you can actually engage students in more interactive activities or activities that maybe use your time a little bit more effectively. So getting back to Sophia, it is a free resource, and you can create an account using your Google Docs account if you'd like, or pretty much any email address. It can be used in conjunction with Google Classroom. Google Classroom is kind of like a Blackboard version for the K-12 world, and schools need to adopt it as a school site in order to use it. But you could link to your Sophia materials from Google Classroom as well. It allows you to very easily assemble web pages. There's not going to be a lot of bells and whistles with it, which I think is sufficient for what we're doing right now, because the objective is to match students with content and get them to the resources as quickly as you can. And there are different options for the types of components that you are going to be able to actually incorporate into the Sophia site, including text, including links to websites, including links to video, audio, and so it allows you to engage students in a lot of different ways. I have navigated to the Sophia website, which I can do by going into the Blackboard folder and clicking on the hyperlink. That will take you directly to the site. You will need to either create an account if you haven't ever been in the site before, or once you have an account, you can go ahead and sign in, which I'm going to do right now. And what we're going to do is we're going to begin by creating a new tutorial. So the different lessons that we're creating are called tutorials in Sophia. So the tutorial begins with us establishing a title. So I'm just going to type in water cycle, and then in the description area is where you are going to type in or paste in whatever standards, objectives, or IDEA goals your lesson is actually going to target. So even though it says description, this is where we want to see the information that otherwise isn't going to be included anywhere inside your document. If you would like to include an image, you can do that. If you this is just a part of your entire tutorial, so if I click on Choose File, for example, it will direct me to my computer where I can find an image if I want to. I'm just going to cancel, and if I chose a file, then it would appear on my tutorial page. So it's optional to include an image there. It's also optional for you to choose a subject area. But then it does require that you answer some questions about licensing information. You are the copyright holder of the material that you create in Sophia, and so if you want to, you can deny the opportunity for other people to have access to the work that you've created. And if you do that, you would choose the limited license. If you do that, then you can see the other 2 boxes are grayed out. If you choose Creative Commons license, it means that you're giving permission to others for finding your resources and using those resources with their own students. And if you choose that, Then it allows you to say, would you like to allow commercial use of your work? Yes or no. Commercial would mean somebody else can use it for a profit. And would you like to allow modifications to your work? Yes, yes, as long as others share alike, or no. So it's up to you to decide what settings you want to establish. Then if you want to set an educational level, this would be if somebody is searching for content, they could specify the level of the students and it would come up as a match a little bit better that way. So you can either choose to check one or not and then click Save. And then if we did include an image, it would appear right here. Right now we can see it's unpublished, which is okay because I'm still working on it. If I do want to change any of the settings that I've just established, I can click the Edit button right here and it would allow me to do that. For now, I'm going to scroll down a little bit farther into the main tutorial sections, and you can see there's a tutorial area and there's also a quiz area. And the quiz area will always appear on the right-hand side of the screen with the major part of the tutorial appearing to the students over on the left. So I'm going to click the plus sign to start building my tutorial. And it gives me options to insert text or images, which is I'm going to go back to that, but it's a really nice feature the way they have it here because it also allows you to use an equation editor. So if you are a math person, you can actually incorporate math symbols into what you post to the site. You can click on video, which allows you to upload videos from your own computer, or you can search for videos in either YouTube or Vimeo. Slideshow would allow you to incorporate your own PowerPoint slides, or you can link to web-based slideshows such as through Google Slides. Audio would be files in formats such as MP3, MP4, WAV. Files like your podcasts could be uploaded. And then you can also incorporate PDFs that you've created that would be embedded into your tutorial. The HTML feature allows you to kind of customize things, and it's beyond the scope of what we're going to do in this class. So I'm going to begin with the text and images, and I just click it. I can type a title in if I want to, and maybe I want to begin with some instructions. So depending on what I want the students to do, maybe view the resources and link to the video. And so maybe what I want to do here is link the students to a website. So what I want to do to initiate that is I don't want the students to see the URL. That means nothing to them. So I'm going to either incorporate an image, which I would do by clicking the Insert Image button, or I would type text in here. So something like this. And then I can select a portion of text, click on the hyperlink, click on Insert Link, and then what I can do is paste a web address in here. It's much better to paste it than to type it. And you definitely want to put a check mark where it says Open Link in New Tab, and that way it will open a new tab up here, and the students will always be able to navigate back to your Sophia site without accidentally getting out of it. So I'll just click Insert, and it comes up as underlined. It will be a hyperlink when we go back into the main part of the tutorial. So I can add as many different links here as I want to. It also gives you the option of adding tables, so if you want to embed text and tables together, sometimes that's a nice way to do it so that you can get the formatting to work out. If you add a table, we can tell it how many rows and how many columns we want. I'm going to just say 2 columns and 1 row. And so if I wanted to have text over here, and then maybe I want an image over here, it allows me to kind of move things around. I'm just going to get the old CSU Stanislaus seal here just to get something in there quickly. And You can resize. We can also get it to do some other things to it. So I'm just going to hit save for now. There we go. It was a little too big before. So then if I wanted to continue adding text, I can do so. I'm going to stop with that. Here's the equation editor, just for those of you that might want to insert some of those symbols, you'll know that it's there. And it has your other basic formatting options that you would expect to see. So I'm going to click Save. And that just saves that part of the tutorial, that particular text part of the tutorial. So I can click back up here to edit. I can move it once I have other content. But you can also see that in the tutorial area that there is a plus sign above what I just added, and there's also a plus sign below what I just added. So if I wanted to add additional components to my tutorial, I can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click the plus below the tutorial, and this time I'm going to click a link to video, and that will open up another area where again I can type in a title in. I can upload a file from my computer, or I can upload a file from YouTube or Vimeo. So I'm going to paste in the URL of a video on YouTube that has a song about the water cycle, which might be appropriate for the level of students that I'm interested in working with. And if you type in a description, they'll see that. And if you need to cite a source, you can. However, if you're linking to somebody else's source, you're not actually incorporating it into your own document to where you would need to give credit to it. So if I'm just linking, I don't need to put a source in there. So I'm going to click Save, just so that you can see what it looks like. So my tutorial now has this text area where I've added a hyperlink, I've added some text and images, and then below that I've added a link to a YouTube video, which if I click it, it will actually play directly within Sophia. And it does allow me to edit. If I want to move, it means I can switch its position with the other block that I have up here in my tutorial. So I can continue to click on the pluses above and below the different components and add additional materials as I wish. So that's basically how you build the main part of the tutorial. Then over here on the right hand side is where you design the quiz. So you'd click the plus, and you have to have at least 4 questions, and Sophia will randomly select 3 of those 4 questions to display to students. So I'm just going to type some letters in for now. You do have to type a question in. If you click these 3 little vertical dots, it allows you to add an image or formula. So if you wanted to do that as part of either your question or as part of your responses, you'll see those 3 dots over here as well. So you need to have at least 2 answers. You could have a true and false, or you could have other multiple choice options. You cannot have options that would require open-ended responses. So I'm just going to type in some letters. I'm going to click the plus, have an additional answer choice, and you're going to put a dot next to the cell of the correct answer. So I can continue adding more choices if I want to. And then when I click Save, that's question 1. So I can again click Edit, and I can also click the plus to add an additional question. So again, this is not going to be fancy, but it'll get us through. So I'm going to save, and I'm going to add another question, answer, answer. We'll say this is the correct answer. And it kind of prompts me through. So it's telling me I need at least 1 more question to complete my quiz. So like I said earlier, we need to have at least 4. All right, so now I've got my 4 questions. So once you actually, and it tells you too, don't worry about the question order, they are presented randomly. It's also true that Sophia will randomly display the response options. So it's not advisable to give an option like all of the above because that could potentially be the first choice that students see. So once you have your tutorial elements and once you have your quiz elements, and you can see anytime I mouse over something, it always gives me an edit feature so I can go back in and change things at any time. But if I'm finished, I'm going to go back up to the top, and now instead of unpublished, I'm going to click Publish to the World. If I publish to a group, I could establish a class as a group, and the group would have a code that they would use the first time they log in, and then they would always be associated with your class. So as a teacher, you could actually go in and see how your students responded to the questions, how many tries did it take them in order to answer 3 correctly. It gives you all kinds of useful data, but we're just right now going to do publish to the world because we don't have a group. And then what I'm going to do is over here under other actions, I'm going to click embed because that will bring up a hyperlink to the tutorial. So I'm going to copy that, and that's the URL that you are going to paste into the comments box in Blackboard when you go to submit assignments. You can also share that URL with anybody else that you would want to access that document, including your students. Be sure to check your syllabus for the due date of the Sophia lesson, just to make sure that you're not turning it in too late. Also remember that there is a discussion board post due this week as well, so I didn't want you to forget about that. And then just a couple things about the Ethics Web Quest. The content and information about it is posted online, so be sure to read through that. Do be prepared with your group members to begin presentations at the next class so that you know you're going to come in and be ready to go. So make sure you've got your web-based resource for that completed and any other materials that you need to have with you done, and you know how you're going to present and so on. In addition, remember that there is a hyperlink in Blackboard so that you can evaluate the participation of the other members of your group. So make sure you go into the Ethics Web Quest and download that contribution evaluation, save that, and then upload it to Blackboard. And then one last thing very briefly is that I did want to just make you aware that we have a Master of Arts in Education with an, the major is curriculum and instruction, but the area of emphasis is educational technology. And this website will get you to the information, and also I just want to talk about it briefly here. The educational technology concentration has 5 main EdTech courses. There's one that's a completely online course called Educational Technology Issues, which looks at social, ethical, and legal issues related to technology in society as well as in education. There is a kind of an extension of the EDIT 4170 class, which looks at things in a little bit more advanced ways in terms of actual integration into curriculum. That class meets 4 times a semester, one face-to-face meeting a month, and the rest is online. There's also a class called Multimedia Development in Education. That is also a class that meets 1 time per month face-to-face, and the rest is online. So in that class, the focus is on multimedia and the use of multimedia in curriculum. There's a totally online class that has a component dealing with staff development, since that's a key related to making sure that teachers are skilled at using technology. It also has a grant writing component, and it has a little bit of a kind of like a techie component that looks at some of the hardware and software behind networking and some troubleshooting, but it's definitely not a class where you would be expected to become a tech expert. It just gives students a little bit more information about those concepts. And then the other class is Research and Educational Technology and Data-Driven Decision Making. And basically, the title alerts you to the kind of content in that. And then in addition to that, all of the students in all of the master's programs in the College of Ed have to take an Intro to Educational Research class, and then students have to take either a qualitative research or a quantitative research course after that, one 3-unit 5,000 level elective, and then 2 enrollments in a project or thesis. So it would amount to 5 ed tech classes, 2 research classes, 1 elective, and 2 enrollments in project or thesis. So students would need 5 semesters to complete the class. So if you are on this website, it has information about how to get in touch with me. I'd be happy to answer questions that you have about the program either via email, or we can make an appointment by phone or in my office. But I just want you to be aware that we at least have this as an option. I appreciate the time that you've taken today to go through this video. And like I said, if you have any other questions about the master's program, let me know. If you have questions about Sophia, then you should ask your instructor. Same thing about the Ethics Web Quest as well. Have a great day.